Oh, that's really cool. Been waiting for you to show up. I got here as fast as I can. What's up? NZXT dropped a new case and I wanted to show you. Dude, that case looks really sweet. Now I need the details on it. So this is the NZXT H7 Flow RGB case, and this is the 2024 model. Let's take a good look at the exterior. We've got a glass side panel. We've got about a 2-inch gap on the bottom to let in a ton of fresh air for those bottom fans. We've got a mesh front panel. We've got the NZXT logo down below. The back panel is solid on this side, but we've got mesh on the right because the power supply sits down here. So the fan for the PSU should get a lot of fresh air because it does sit vertical, which is very interesting for this case. We've got a lot of ventilation holes in the back. Got our PCIe slot covers. Our motherboard's gonna sit right here. And back around towards the side. Then on the top, we've got mesh where fans or a radiator are gonna sit. And as far as I/O goes, we got a power button, 2 USB type A, a USB type C, and a headphone jack. It's a very clean case. It's not very wide, but it is very tall. All right, so let's go ahead and get the panels off and then take a look at the rest of the case. I'm really liking it so far. Me too. Okay, so all of the panels on this case are toolless removal, so they're all super easy to remove. So I got those out of the way. So let's take a good look at the case and what it has to offer. So on the front, we're actually looking at another new NZXT release, and these are their core fans. And as you can see, it is actually 3 120mm fans grouped into one frame. So a super unique design. And these come pre-installed, and they're all controlled with that one cable down there. And these will come on the H7 Flow RGB model. So super clean. And then the panel that they are mounted to can be removed from the case too. And you can fit multiple size radiators and different fans. And you can see these 2 screws right here on each side of the fan. Those are going to be what needs to be removed to remove that front panel. So that's super cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at the back. First, we'll look at this bracket over here. So this is removable, but if you leave it in, you can mount your 2.5-inch SSDs and 3.5-inch HDDs. This build is not going to have any of those. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. And those are all held in with this one screw up here. So the back is super clean. And I really love how they included white front panel connectors. There's nothing worse than getting a white case and the front panel connectors are all black. Just doesn't look good. So like I was saying earlier, the power supply is going to be mounted vertically, which is very interesting for a mid-tower case. Normally they're horizontal. And I think with how the power supply is going to be mounted, it's going to make cable management really easy and clean because the cables are going to come out of the power supply. They're going to flow over here to the left and then upward. Then we've got a ton of tie down points. We've got these little NZXT Velcro pieces. So I think cable management is going to be really easy in this thing. And I do like the PSU design. So the back is really clean. Down here, we have a drive cage that is removable. Then you can also see we have access to the bottom fans. A lot of access, which is nice to see. Sometimes it's hard to route the bottom mounted cables towards the back. So it's nice to see a wide open area down there. And then once this bracket is removed, there is access to the back of the motherboard. If you wanted to like swap coolers at some point and you didn't want to remove the motherboard from the case, So that's really cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. So we can fit 120 millimeter or 140 millimeter fans, or those size radiators as well. Got our motherboard I/O slot right here. PCIe slot covers that I was showing earlier. Our power supply cavity. Let's go ahead and actually let's take a look at the top. So we can fit multiple size radiators and fans up here. And this top panel is not removable. Just an FYI. So the case can fit up to eATX size motherboards and all the way down to ITX if you wanted to do that for some reason. And it's got this really cool design with this shroud. So like I was saying, the power supply is mounted vertically. And because it's mounted vertically, they made this really short PSU shroud that was able to give them enough room for bottom mounted fans. So it's like a dual chamber case, but it's mid tower. So really cool to see. We're going to be throwing some 120 millimeter fans down there. Actually another set of these core fans. So that's cool. Got our little NZXT logo over here. Super clean. Another look at those front fans. Really, really clean. They go really well with the case. Yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything, but so far I'm really, really liking this case. This is gonna turn out so good, but I gotta run. I'll be back later. That is a clean looking PC. How was the build in it? Welcome back and thank you. I'm extremely happy with the end result. I think this build came out looking so clean. Let's do a little 360 so I can show you around this bad boy. And as far as the build experience, this is honestly one of the easiest cases that I've built in so far. So I think it's very beginner friendly. I don't think anyone will have any issues with cable management or installing any of the components in this case. There's a ton of room on pretty much all sides for this case. So no issues with installing anything or routing any cables. So let's go over some of the cables. We got our GPU cable coming out right here and then down through there. Got our CPU cables up there in the top left, our AIO cable going up and over the top, our motherboard 24 pin and our USB Type-C for the top panel. Then we've got our front fans Your cables are routed through that little pass-through down there. And those actually come out right there, and then over and up towards the fan controller. Then we've also got the rear fan coming down over here, and then over towards the fan controller. And then our top fans is this left cable right there, coming down, and once again going towards the fan controller. And same thing with the bottom fans, cables down there somewhere. And then we got our CPU cable up here coming down over to the left and through that same channel, as well as our AIO cables. So super easy to route things. We've got our motherboard 24 pin coming down over here, then over towards the power supply. So a ton of room for all your cables. I don't think anyone will have any issues with cable management in this thing. I even still have a ton of room down here if I had more power supply cables or whatever else it may be. So super easy to build in, and not my best cable management, but also not the worst. I can also clean it up a little bit more, but I just got it to a state where I wanted to see if it would boot and if there was any issues. But let's get this thing booted up and see how it looks. And it looks absolutely amazing. I'm so happy with how this build turned out. This is exactly what I had envisioned. I picked out all the parts. And honestly, these NZXT fans do the best true white that I think I've seen from RGB fans. Because normally when you set it to white, there's always a blue tint to them. Then you have to use the software and try to dial it out. But these ones I set to white, and they are the best true white that I think I've seen. And for this build, that matches the absolute best for obvious reasons. And the way the RAM sticks match the motherboard, I don't think I could have planned this any better. Super, super clean. And since I'm using such a large GPU, we do have some sag. So I'll need to find a GPU sag bracket that fits back there. I don't have any that are small enough. But just a super clean case. I love it. And here is the H7 Flow RGB with the NZXT vertical GPU mounting kit, which I think is the route I'm gonna go for now, since I don't have a sag bracket that'll work. And honestly, I think I just prefer the vertical look overall. But let me know what you guys think down below, horizontal or vertical. So what are your final thoughts on the case? And let's see it with the entire setup. So before we get into that, let's go over the benchmarks for this case. So the CPU I'm running is an AMD 7950X3D under a 360mm AIO. And with the fans at 50% speed, the max temperature I saw was 76 degrees Celsius. And the GPU is a 4080 Super. And while horizontal, the max temperature I saw was 66. And while vertical, the max temperature I saw was 67. So fantastic temperatures. And I think a large part of that is due to the case design with these 6 intake fans and 4 exhaust for some nice positive pressure and great airflow. And as far as my final thoughts on this case, I really like it. I think it looks great. It's extremely easy to build in. I like how it has a dual chamber type design with the bottom fans, but it's actually a mid tower and not nearly as wide as a dual chamber case. You can see it doesn't take up a ton of room on my desk. So that's always awesome. The more space, the better. Overall, I think it's a great case, and I really think it's worth checking out if this is something you're interested in. And then as far as the fans go, I really like the design. I like how they've combined 3 fans into 1 frame and have 1 cable control it all. I think everybody needs to start doing something like this to make it easier. Because some builds, you've got so many cables per fan, and it just makes it way more difficult to cable manage. And I love the color reproduction. Like I said, it's probably the truest white that I've seen from any RGB fan. So overall, a great case, and I actually don't have anything negative to say about it. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you enjoy my content, and I'll see you all in the next one.